Welcome to the JAMODI podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. What is your favorite culture building activity?
My favorite culture building activity is just the day-to-day process of upholding our standard. I'm not a big guy into, trust falls and, duck, goose and all that good stuff, man. To me, it's about the everyday, consistency that you have every day. So, we do a lot of things. We have a lot of little quirks to our program that kind of build that stuff. And, there's a lot of kind of different things that we do. Just a small example is I don't shake any of my guys' hands, and kind of a germaphobe, whatever, but it kind of became like this fun little game. Like they always try to get me, and I've got to stay on my toes, not shake their hand. And I had a guy who, two of my players get married earlier in the summer, and I didn't even shake their hands on their wedding day. I gave them a hug.
So wait, you're okay with the hug, but not the handshake. I love that.
Only on championship days when we win the big trophies. On championship days and weddings, it's the only time they get a hug. Other than that, don't touch me. So, but we do lots of things like that. Just try to, just these little quirky things, and it kind of creates like this connection. And they're always trying to get me, and I'm trying to avoid, and not be God. So I'm not like it's not like a one time, let's get together in the gym and do like this icebreaker or this, whatever. It's more than that to me. It's a day-to-day process. We do it every day. We uphold it every day. We have a standard that we try to live up to here at Hardin-Baylor. And I've had that same thing in all the different programs that I've had. And so to me, it's the everyday, how do you do things every day to uphold your culture?
And I love that. I don't think it has to be like you said, an icebreaker, or you take your guys out to a cabin and you have this ritual that they go through to become part of the team. It doesn't have to be like that. But what's interesting, even about the no handshakes, but more importantly, them every day, trying to get creative and find new ways. In doing that, I would imagine they're probably excited to see you. Like they're more excited to be around and looking forward to it, rather than, a program that doesn't do something like that. That it's just, well, show up today, it's going to be the exact same thing. I think there's some brilliance there.
Yeah, well, I haven't been accused of being a brilliance a lot, but it's just something that it was organic, and we just kind of happened into it. It's kind of a game that we've developed, and I've been doing it from the whole time. So it was fun. I got to, for 2 separate weekends earlier in July, I actually catered 2 of my former players' weddings. So cook brisket, took my grill out there, cook brisket. So I got to spend a whole weekend with my former player who's getting married and all of his groomsmen who were teammates, and so those guys, every time that they go get me Dr. Pepper, they try to give me a handshake, so,
Yeah.
Just things like that. It's something that even 7, 8, 9 years down the road, it's something that we still have, and it's a game we still play. And, that's just one example. We have a lot of things that we do around here that may seem a little quirky, and it may seem, come on, coach, but there's a method behind it. There's nothing that we do in our program that doesn't have some kind of a method behind it, even if we kind of, luck into it a little bit like we did with this thing. So, we try to keep the guys on their toes and try to do things to build a connection and something in common with those guys at every chance we get.
I'm going to lean in a little bit more. Can you give me another example of a quirky thing?
Oh, just, the way that we handle punishment is one thing. About 85% of the time, teams get punished for the team as a whole is punished for, an individual sins. The guys hate it, but they accept it, and it kind of becomes like it's they're holding each other accountable. So, I like doing that. There's just lots of things. I could go through all kinds of little, just, the way that we, the way that we break out, the way, it's not the 1, 2, 3 team, it's like, we have a purpose behind everything we do. So, I enjoy a program. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Coach, I feel like I'm coming off as annoying because you'll say something that I just, the part of me, because my motivation for really doing this, okay, it's not purely selfish. Like I love for other coaches to get help and to learn things and stuff, but I'm getting to ask these questions to a guy like you and learn. And so when you say, when you say we break out different, I'm sorry, man. I want to know how. Like I want to know.
So one of our core beliefs, one of our mantras is the most generally the most aggressive team wins, right? So we talk about attacking a lot, and getting out and getting the first punch in, or however you want to phrase it. We've gone through all different kinds of iterations of this thing, but to me, it all comes down to attack, and then we also want to do it together. So when we break out, we get up there and one of our guys says together, the rest of them say we attack, and it's been picked up by Texas Tech. They're doing it now. I'm not saying they got it from me, but that's what they're doing. I'm sure that there's other teams that do it, and I wasn't the first.
No, coach, it came from you. It came from you.
No, I don't know about that, but everything is there's nothing unique anymore, man. Everything's stolen now, but that's just something that we believe in. We're going to go out there. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to do it together. So that's just our reminder. That's what. I know a lot of other teams like to have a different break every time and things like that. Like we don't do that. Like we have the same one every time. And it's one of our points of pride that every time that we break, it's, you're going to get a good breakout. We're not going to have weak ones, so
do you have the same guy? Do you have the same guy leading that together, or do you allow them to, in the moment, who chooses?
No, I allow them to do it, and it's great for me to kind of see who steps up at times,
No
and
doubt.
it's always funny that, about 3 weeks in, we have a bad practice and everybody's kind of, got the down face, and everybody's kind of moping around. You get that freshman jump in there. Come on, guys, together, And so, it's always cool when something like that happens. You have a kid step up and do it. That it gives them a chance to kind of take a little ownership of it. So, so I'll let the team kind of organically do that. A lot of times it's going to be one of the older guys, it's going to be one of the seniors. But every once in a while, you have those young guys jump in, and that's when it gets fun.
Yeah, and there's even built into that, there's a test of, like you said, on a bad practice. Okay, it's easy. I've always thought it's easy for guys to bring spirit, to bring energy when everything's going great. You just had a great practice. You just played your best game. But if you're, like you said, if the team isn't doing well, or if it was a bad practice after a loss, how do they come back from that, and how do they respond? I think that's a cool little measuring stick right there, to see who you can lean on and how those guys are going to react when things aren't perfect.
Yeah. And trust me, some people think, oh, coach doesn't pay attention. I pay attention to all that stuff. Another thing kind of the same vein is we open and close every practice with a prayer. We're here at a Baptist university. We take our religion seriously here, our Christianity seriously here. So we open every practice and close every practice with a prayer. And I'll let them, do it, and I let them step up and who wants to do it. And we have a first team All-American here named Josiah Johnson, and he's probably about 65% of the prayers, which speaks a lot to him, a guy that can average 30 and has a 4.0 GPA and also prays for us, 6 out of 10 times. Pretty special kid. But we also have, kids that you wouldn't, I've had kids where the first time I've heard them speak more than 2 sentences is in a prayer. And so sometimes that's fun to watch too, and it all goes back to our program. It all goes back to our culture of, just being together and growing and connections and also being connected to our faith, and so that all goes back to what we do. And I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's a good way to have your kids grow a little bit.
I hear a lot from you about how you're empowering your players to do things and lead things, and helping to create a more of a player-led team. Because I think I'm guilty of, like, I'm at a Christian private school up here at DFW, and we pray too. I don't know how many times I've led it on both ends, how many times I lead the break, how many times I probably need to take a page from your book and put them in those leadership opportunities more.
I'll tell you one dynamic I try very hard to create here is to give these guys freedom to have some ownership of the program. But at the end of the day, because we talk about this, we talk about giving them the freedom and empowering them, but at the end of the day, I'm the leader of this program. Like I'm the the buck stops with me. And so it's a fine line you have to you have to ride here, to establish that you're the boss. But you give your guys enough ownership to where they feel like they have a little piece of it. So, it's funny. There's a lot of things that we have to do here to kind of do that. Every once in a while, I got to remind these guys that when it comes to UMH basketball, I'm King Clif. What I say goes. And sometimes I got to come in here and drop the hammer. But for the most part, we create this culture of excellence first. We want to be good in everything we do, and we uphold that standard. So that's the best thing I can do for my team is upholding our standard and making sure that we're performing to that every day, but allowing those guys to figure out how to get to it, and let those guys have some say in what the standard is going to be. But at the end of the day, I'm the top dog here. So I don't have to tell them every day. I don't have to remind them every day. There's just those instances where you got to put your foot down and say, hey man, there's, I'm the top of the food chain here. Right. And you guys are going to do what we want. But for the most part, and we got good kids, and we got guys that really want to be good and guys that kind of have it figured out. So I can just let them kind of do it, and it's great. It's a great way to be. It's a great way to be as a coach. Like I don't have to go in there and dominate every day. Like I really don't. I can sit back and let guys take it. I can let my assistants take it. I can let, and everybody knows in the gym that, if something gets out of line or there's something that I don't like, we're going to fix it, and so, I have a very strong presence in that realm. But when it comes to, all the kind of the small detail, I let them take care of most of it. And to me, it's a lot of fun to watch them and watch these guys kind of figure things out and kind of have these aha moments, not just my players, but my assistants, like, oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's great, and things like that. So, so it's a great dynamic to have. It's hard. It's a fine line. I can see where, it could go awry real fast. You have some guys that don't believe in your culture and guys that kind of go awry. And, I have to be more, more of a presence there. But from what we have built right now here at Mary Hardin-Baylor, I can kind of sit back and be a part of it as opposed to be on top of it all the time.
I think that's the art of coaching, right? Is the knowing one, having the relationships with your guys and your coaches and knowing what works with them, but that art of how far to let them go, when to pull them back. And it just seems like you have a really good handle on that.
Yeah, it's been a process, and I learned from the best. I think Coach Knight was a lot like that. I got my start coaching as a student assistant for him, and he had the reputation of being like this, real strong, domineering, and he's a very strong head coach. But you would be surprised, how much he allowed his assistants and his players to kind of run some things in the program. And at the end of the day, everything was done with his blessing. There was nothing done in our program that he didn't bless or he didn't teach or things like that. But there was a lot. And so I learned a lot of that from him and also from Steve Green, who hopefully everybody in Texas knows who Steve Green is. He's the greatest junior college coach of all time, at South Plains College, 3 national championships and an undefeated season. He's the greatest. So I got the pleasure of working for both of those guys when I was young, and both of them had that trait. Both of them clearly were the top dogs in that program, but both of them allowed all of us to work and do things, and as long as we were working within the program. So I had some lessons from the very best at a very young age. So this is one of my strengths as a coach, I believe, and one of the things that I feel like we do really good in our program. And it's a fine line, and I sometimes don't realize how blessed I was as an early coach to figure some of those things out.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.